It's Keita Williams, founder and chief strategist of Success Bully. Success Bully is an elite accountability practice, so that makes me your personal professional butt kicker. And you have got to love technology. Did you see how my countdown clock decided to not count down? Oh, the beauties of doing a live show. So we're so excited that it's Monday. We are so excited to be rocking and rolling through our spring cleaning, our goals, kind of reassessing what happened in Q1 and what we want more of in Q2. So we are absolutely thrilled to support you in that effort. And we're even doing that here in our own spaces. Hence, I broke all my fingernails. In case you see me without fancy fingernails, it's because of my spring cleaning projects, but that's not what we came here to talk about. we have a very exciting announcement, and I've been way too low key about it. So now I'm going to go big. I'm going to go 10. I might be a 5. I'm going to be a 10 right now. I'm going to go full 10. So we have a very big announcement that we want to share with each one of you. And this has more to do with our big vision for 2021 and how we can support you in your efforts. So one of my big goals for 2021 is to support 1,000 female founders who have their side hustles and are looking to scale in building their businesses so they have the option of leaving corporate America. And so with that, we are kind of narrowing our focus in this group. And we've decided that the first thing we need to do is change the group name. Change the group name. The 5 days of focus is a little ambiguous. You know, I will admit it's a little ambiguous, but it does speak to what I consider that when you're scaling your side hustle, you're working full time and you're trying to figure out the next move, that it takes each day doing something towards building your business so that you have the option of leaving. And so with that, I'd like to announce the new name of the group. And CC, our amazing marketing coordinator, social media concierge, all things amazing, will be changing all of this immediately after we wrap up this live show. And so we're changing the name to the Corporate Escape Route. And so what we're passionate about here in this group is supporting our brilliant side hustlers who are ready to plot their pathway to freedom. It looks different for everyone. We all have a different journey that we're on when we are planning that corporate escape or building our side hustles. For some of us, our hand has been forced where we have to make that decision based on what's going on in the economy. For others of us, we've hit that glass cliff where like we're not seeing the growth and the promotions and what we feel that we need and deserve in our corporate careers. And for some of us, we just want our freedom. And the pathway there is different for everyone. I know for me, it had more to do with turning 40 than any immediate need. It was turning 40 and hitting the glass cliff, right? And so it looks different for everyone. And so what you can expect from us is that we are going to be supporting you in plotting that pathway. So we're going to be focusing in on some really amazing training. So our weekly live streams are going to take on more of a training element so you get what you need. So we're going to answer questions and concerns that are voiced here in the community. We're listening very closely, and we understand that strategy seems to be a big sticking point. So guess what we're doing next week? Strategy. I'm talking to you about strategy. Get ready. And I'm going to give you my really simple framework for building your strategic plan. We also know that we need to connect with one another. I know that when I started Success Bully, I said it as a joke 4 years ago, I happened to be in a room full of female founders. I happened to be plugged into a community, and being part of a community was a really important component to me sticking to it, getting it off the ground and staying in motion, having that community that I could lean into when I had a question or when I just needed to commiserate. So we're building community here. We also have monthly giveaways. So we're gifting, and there will be some laser coaching sessions. So again, in addition to supporting you in your journey, one of my big goals is making sure that we support 1,000 women in scaling their side hustles. So you have the option of leaving corporate. So get ready, all things, the name of the show, the name of the group, all of the branding, the Corporate Escape Route. Consider this your community for building that side hustle. Consider us your resource, and please make sure you check in with us day to day. One last announcement. Of course, we've been focused on spring cleaning our goals, especially when we look at what we did in Q1. What are some of the adjustments we need to make? So I've cleared some spots on my calendar this week. So I got 2 spots available for a special 45-minute goal setting session with me. So raise your hand in the comments, reach out to your concierge to see if you can claim one of those 2 spots. And we'll walk through what didn't work in Q1, what we want more of in Q2, and we'll plot out a plan just for you. So there's 2 spots on my calendar this week. And as always, I want to thank my lovely Success Bully team. So thank you, Cece, who is our marketing coordinator, all things social media concierge. So hello, Cece. Special thank you to Jen, who is absolute, who keeps us right along, keeps us rolling right along. Jen is also a concierge. So reach out if you need additional support, if you need to get time on my calendar, if you have any questions. I know that we are, over the next couple weeks, days and weeks, we're going to be tapping you on the shoulder and asking you exactly what you need so that we can make sure that our programming is aligned with what the community needs. So know that we're listening. So yeah, 2 spots on my calendar. The group name has changed. Hello, Cece. Hello, Jen. And once again, we're so excited that you're here. So now that I'm done with announcements and I have caught my breath, I'm going to continue to come in hot. I'm already coming in hot. I'm coming in hot. So if your first name begins with the letters A through C or O through R, Jen is your concierge. If your name begins with all the other letters, CC, let them know. I can never get this right. CC is your concierge. CC, put it in the comments. So I am so thrilled to welcome Dr. Renee St. I can talk. Dr. Renee St. Jacques to the show. And I think that this is the perfect time to have this conversation. This is a perfect time. Again, we just wrapped up the first quarter of Q1, first quarter of 2021. And like the world is starting to open up a little bit. We're starting to think more critically about how we want to scale our side hustles. And I think it's really important to get in touch with your personal magic, to keep that top of mind, that as you're building things, that you're making sure that you're leaning into what makes you magical. So Dr. Renee is an energizing and empowering licensed psychologist and executive coach. And she's passionate about helping people walk in their magic. So cultivating healthier, more successful leaders, whether that's at home, work, in your side hustle, through the power of emotional intelligence. Get into it. Ooh, it's very exciting. She specializes in the intersection of psychology and business. Come on, I hope you have your notebooks ready. She delivers quality counseling, coaching, and consulting services that uniquely blend compassion with results. I'm already more so in love. Dr. Renee brings a unique blend of human behavior expertise as a licensed psychologist and executive coach, as well as her real-world experience as a former Microsoft marketing manager. And she has nearly 2 decades of being a full-time employee, a consultant, and a coach in corporate America. Her deep experience with business and product management gives her the senior level perspective to understand the work issues that her clients face daily, while her extensive doctoral training in psychology offers her the intuition and expertise to help support her clients in their workplace relations as well as beyond the surface, right? So we are so excited. And I have some great questions, and I hope that you all will ask questions in the comments. So without further ado, hello, Dr. Renee. Okay, technology, you were being a little wonky. Let's see. Dr. Renee. Yeah, it worked. It is so good to see you. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for leaning into this process with us, you know, like with our glitches in the technology. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for showing up. And so
it's an honor.
Oh, thank you. You know, I'm going to come in fast with the question. So what I found incredibly fascinating about your work is that idea of the cross sect between psychology and business. And so at what point did you realize that you could bring those areas together?
Well, I think it's worth telling a little bit of my story.
Please do.
I was just in the background and virtual backstage, saying amen to corporate escape route, because that's me. That's my story. I mean, I literally was a corporate escape artist, right? So is it okay if I just go through a little bit of that story?
Do it. Yes.
Really
Yes. You'll let me know when I need to reel you in. No worries.
Like, Kita, being with you is like a double, triple shot of espresso. So
yes.
I really just love being with you, your energy. So, I have so much fun with you. So for me, it just started off as you mentioned, I started off at Microsoft. I was doing the climbing the ladder route that everybody else was. And I looked around and I was like, there's nobody that's really doing it the way I want to do it.
Hello.
And the main thing is that for me, I'm a working mom. I've got two kids. I got a 3 and 5-year-old. Yes, to quarantine, parenting, working
all the things.
Yes, I am doing it. I'm doing it. It's a balance. It's a juggle. But I remember looking around and being like, I don't see anybody that has the lifestyle I want. I want high impact for every hour that I work. I want high impact. And by the way, I want high pay. and
the money.
That goes hand in hand. High impact with high pay. And you're not going to get that with 60 plus 80 hours. You're not.
Right.
Because at that point, you're getting
you're working for pennies at that point.
Yes, and that was me. And then I also saw people who could not really, it was very much about life fitting into work, not work fitting into their life, and I just wasn't into that. And I looked and I just said, I don't see that. And I also saw that I wasn't walking in my own magic. I wasn't operating and bringing my whole self to work. I wasn't bringing all those giftings and passions that I had for social justice, for working women, for all these different things that I just wasn't getting as a technical product manager at Microsoft. It was so limited, yet so consuming. And so I decided to do a lot of soul searching. And I remember I was on a 21-day backpacking trip in Europe at the time when I realized I got to escape out of this. And
I have to do something different.
It wasn't right away. But eventually I basically enrolled into a doctorate program for psychology. At the time I was thinking I was just going to go into counseling, actually. I didn't think it was going to be coaching. And it ended up being a beautiful blend. But basically I get this, talk about a complete escape artist. I worked full-time at Microsoft as an employee while full-time doing a doctorate program for 2 of my 5-year doctorate program.
When did you sleep?
Never told anybody. I think I had no kids at the time. And so never told anybody. And so basically I hid it for 7 years because I moved into consulting in order to sustain my income while doing the doctorate, and graduated with no debt, which is great. And then I proceeded I was married, had a daughter, and then I got licensed as a psychologist. And at that point, I was like, okay, now I can do anything I want, told the world, and was able to tell that story. But part of telling a story was, it was a straight turn into counseling only, that's quite a story, and that's fine. But something about me loved still being in those settings, still loved business. And so I realized I'm like, I'm not, it's not a organizational psychologist doctorate, but the cool thing about my doctor is that it is actually about working with people. So I'm licensed to work with everything from trauma all the way to now executives in a more corporate realm. But because I can go back and forth, I span these two worlds. It's just amazing. And so I think that's my niche really is that intersection between psychology and business in that way that isn't just limited to organizational structure and reorgs and all that stuff. So, and I realized there's psychology in everything, as we all know.
Oh, absolutely.
There's always a why behind the what. Even in my real life, I constantly have to ask myself, why am I procrastinating? I'm procrastinating because there's some fear there. There's some imposter syndrome. There's some psychology about not being enough.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I could yell that on the internet about the idea of like when you procrastinate, asking yourself, what are you really scared of?
Yes.
What are you really scared of?
It's all about that. It has to do with that.
So there's 2 threads I want to pull on.
Let's do it.
And so the first thread is that idea for our side hustlers. I went big on this a couple weeks ago. The idea of like, you're not too busy. You're not too busy. This is all about prioritizing. You made this decision that you wanted something different. it wasn't like instantaneous. It wasn't burn the boats,
Mhm.
and kick the garbage can on your way out
Mhm.
of your corporate career or your role at Microsoft, but that there was a balancing act and that you paced yourself to get it done. And I think that that is something that I want all our side hustlers to hear, that when you're making these pivots, that they're not always overnight. They're like,
Mhm.
an overnight success is a misnomer. It is like a decade in the making.
It was. It was
It's a
almost a
decade.
decade. 7 years. I never told a soul in the corporate
Right.
realm that I was doing this, but I was doing it, and
You were getting up early, staying up late. You got it
I did it,
done.
and I did it, and it's a season of my life that wasn't forever,
Hmm.
but it was worth it. It was worth
Oh,
it.
now you got me started on that whole other thread. Season of your life. So if while you are building and you are,
Mhm.
yes, you may be tired.
Mhm.
Yes, you may be tired and you may be frustrated and you may not see the end. It is just a season.
It is.
It is temporary. It is temporary. So thank you so much for that. And what I really am excited about is that, like, uh I think that what I find fascinating about people, like those previous experiences, you bring all of that to work.
Mhm. Mhm.
That
Context.
trauma,
Absolutely.
whatever happened at your house before,
Mhm.
like when we actually
Mhm.
went to the office, you remember that?
Yes.
Or even what people are experiencing right now, where our world has been disrupted.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
there's no one that is not experiencing some type of trauma, loss,
Mhm.
and grief
Mhm.
during all 2020 through 2021, maybe 2022.
Mhm.
So how has your work been impacted with all that has happened with COVID-19 and the
Yeah.
I guess that's the only
Uh,
hand gesture for that one.
there's no words for that. They can describe that. You mean on a personal level or in the
I
people I
want
coach?
personal level, and
Yeah.
then what are you seeing in your work?
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's a very fascinating, and we'll talk more about my goals in a
Hmm.
moment. But for me, it actually prospered my coaching practice even more,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
fascinating because I could actually see more people because before I was actually seeing people in person. Imagine that I was seeing people in person, and so now I can. There's no commute time. I can see a
Right.
lot more people. And I'm still juggling the kids, but
Mhm.
I'm still designing a life that works for me and working the amount that I wanted. I started scaling by doing more workshops. So virtual
Mhm.
works, I did like at least 50 in the past year.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that was fascinating because I was able to reach people right where they were at home. And
Mhm. Mhm.
I created a whole series in partnership with a company called Lions and Tigers called Fearless Series. And it was all
Mhm.
about empowering people with essential soft skills around the psychology of work. So delegation,
Mhm.
boundaries, leading peers, managing up, like all those nuances, we were equipping people with those soft skills. So it actually prospered the in a weird way. It
Mhm.
prospered my business, but it's also now shifted me into a place of scale. In that now I
Mhm.
want to do everything I do. I want to do scale. I don't.
Mhm.
I love one-on-ones, but I need to shift away less from doing that and to more scale and more sustainable
Yeah.
passive
From
income.
one to one to one to many.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, one to many, and not just one to many on a live workshop, but one to many in more recordings, online courses,
Mhm.
ClickFunnels, things like that. So that's been the challenge for me to kind of shift into that space and create machines that kind of are
Oh
well
yeah.
oiled that run on its own. And then for me, like when I've coached people individually, of
Mhm.
course, people have come from all contexts. Even the fear of like, let's say, in Microsoft or a big corporation, even the fear of losing their job is really,
Right.
really real. And so,
Mhm.
although they are in a privileged place in one way, another hand, it's like really, really hard. And I could see how even people who are watching this right now, for them to even think about escaping at this juncture of the world, can be scary. And
Mhm.
but I think it goes back to like the locus of control. Like, where is the locus of control? Is it in the outside or the inside, or do you actually know that you can actually impact and steer your ship and drive the car of your career? You're in the driver's seat. You don't have to be in the back seat. And when we live in the back seat, then we start making decisions that are very backseat
Oh yeah. Like
driver
go that
decisions.
way, as opposed to no, we
Yes,
don't have to go that way.
yes. Like
I
you're
can
the
see the
victim.
road.
You're the victim of the reorg. You're the victim of whatever budget cut. You're the victim of it versus being like, no, I'm in the driver's seat. I'm in the
Let's
driver's
talk
seat.
more about the driver's seat.
Let's
So
talk about it.
how do you help people kind of make that shift from being in the back seat to being in that
Yeah.
front seat and being the driver of their career, their life, the company that they want to build?
Yeah. I find most of my audience is different than your audience because you are a coach to people like that are going to be coaches or other entrepreneurs. So, but for me, like I'm coaching people who are probably most likely going to stay in corporate America,
Hmm.
and that's
Hmm.
okay. But
Right.
in that case, even in that case, I am always asking them: Are you in the driver's seat? Are you here on your own terms? Maybe this is walking your full magic. Like I really believe that. When I was working in corporate America, I as a FD, I looked around and I was like, I did see a few people that were really made for it. They were,
Hmm.
and that's okay.
Hmm.
We need people working for big corporations. We have
Right.
no corporate. We need them. It's not like they should all leave, but it's like, but few of us like me, like you, we should leave. That is not
Mhm.
in our highest and best use to be in those settings. And but when I am coaching somebody who is supposed to be there, I am constantly coaching them through soul searching questions to be like, what is the vision for your life? If you had a epitaph of your career, like one line or two liners of like what
Mhm.
at the end of your life do you want to be remembered for in terms of like the industry impact that you've had, the career, or the body of work that you've done? What would it be? Do you even know? And most people, I mean, they're stumped. They have no idea.
Right, right, right.
And what they become is what I say to them is like, you're a career chameleon. You just whatever job comes your way or reorg happens before, you just evolve to whatever's in front of you.
A
You
career chameleon.
you are not, and I bet you I'm convicting some people right now. Like you are, you're a career chameleon, and you're
Driving
not
up some driveways there.
you. I'm all about that, just like you, Gita, which is why I love you. Like I'm all about going there and making people uncomfortable because I think any good counseling or coaching has some level of discomfort.
A
I
bit,
mean, that's
little
how
bit of discomfort.
you lean into that, and that's where growth happens. But really, it's like, are you career chameleon? Do you even know where you want to go? I'm not saying you don't take a job shift or somebody, your manager asks you to do something and you don't take it, but do you know where you're going, what you want to get out of it? Are you there on your own terms? And so
Mhm.
that takes a lot of time to think through, and I work on that with my coachees. But
Mhm.
it's just to know that North Star is such a game changer. For me, I know what my North Star is. I want to cultivate more successful, healthier leaders at home and at work through the power of emotional intelligence. And so that might be through a variety of different mechanisms. But at the end of my career, my life, I want people to be like, yeah, Dr. Renee, she shifted something for me. She made me healthier. She made me attain her highest and best success, my highest and best success at home and at work because of her teaching and her mentoring and her coaching. Like that would be my dream.
I
So
love it.
so
I
that becomes
love
my
it.
North Star. When people ask me, hey, could you sit on this nonprofit? I get asked to do things all the time.
Listen.
Please be a professor for this. Please be, and I just, is that aligned to my North Star?
Is that aligned to the North Star?
No.
There's
All
nothing wrong with
right.
saying
I'm going to
no.
say
It might
no.
sound like a great opportunity, but like, nope, that's not the North
I
Star.
mean,
So
that's
that
flattering, but no.
my question, like when you talk about this, helping people discover their magic and what that looks like in their personal and their professional lives and beyond, like how are you defining that magic? What do you mean by that?
Well, you have to be healthy in order
Mhm.
to walk in your magic. And what I mean by healthy means emotionally healthy,
Mhm.
psychologically, mentally healthy,
Mhm.
physically healthy as well. I mean, you have to. And when I say emotional health, when I think of emotional intelligence, I define it as the ability, the skill of being able to perceive, understand, and manage your emotions, and
Mm.
judiciously and empathetically be in relationships. Because our
Mhm.
work is only as good as our work with other people. So I find a lot of very high IQ leaders have low EQ, and
Yep.
that's what hampers them. I mean, they can't get past themselves. They get in their own
Mhm.
way, imposter syndrome, etc. Or they really have an issue with people, and there's patterns there that need to be explored at its root. And so that's what I mean by healthy. And then really people who have high self awareness around their strengths. So
Mhm.
it's taken years for me to know what my superpowers are, what my unique value is, where my
Mhm.
voice is. And when I know those things, I'm walking in my magic.
I love it.
So so that's really unique. A lot of people don't know that actually about themselves.
And like to the point of with our side hustlers here and our corporate escape artists, it's so important to walk in your magic because I think that when you are building something, it's really easy to be the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. You're the CEO, the CMO, the CFO. You are the you're in charge of sales, delivery, execution, fulfillment, and you can get so bogged down into all the things that you forget that piece that really inspires you. You forget that piece that you really own, and so like for our side hustlers, like what is your recommendation for them to like if they're veering this way, how do they bring it back to their magic?
Well, when I think about your highest and best use, I think, and highest best use is, by the way, a term that is around real estate, around land. What's the highest and best use for the return on investment, ROI, of this particular land? Should it be retail? Should it be commercial? Should it be a house? And it's kind of like us, like we have a highest and best use on like how we should apply our skills, where we should apply our skills, who we should apply our skills with. And so it's really, I love this. There's this one Forbes article that talks about the zone of genius, your zone of genius. And it's like, okay, it's not just about things that come easily for me. For me, yes, I can do project management, I can do marketing, I can do business in corporate America and be fine. That's not my zone of genius.
Right. It's something I learned how to do.
I can do it and get a paycheck and maybe get promoted, but I'm not going to be, nobody's writing home about that. Nobody's going to be doing TED Talk about that. Nobody's going to be,
won't make my obituary.
Yeah, it's not going to be a bestseller, right?
No, not at
all. So for me, it's like, okay, what is my unique thing? I'm not the only person who talks about emotional intelligence, but I have a unique journey and I have a unique space. And it's about knowing, like, where is that for you? And I like what you said about, like, we can be all things, but we need to outsource at some point. And I was even talking to you about this earlier. It's like, I need to outsource certain things like marketing or my social media, or I need to do those things because where my zone of genius is the writing. It's the content creation and all that other stuff. I'm spending so much time on these other things. I should be outsourcing that because for the amount of money I'm spending versus like my own dollar, like my time is money, right? So
literally,
so I need to understand, like, okay, well, if I'm worth this much and I'm spending so much money so much time doing XYZ, these logistical, tactical things, when I should be really spending more of my brain power on some other things, then it's really, really critical that you know yourself enough to be like, you know what, I'm good at this, but somebody else is even better.
And there's nothing wrong with saying that. There's nothing wrong with, even though, if you ask me, I felt like I was really good at the socials. It's not the highest and best use of my time. It's not the highest and best use. Yeah. And like now I'm an approver.
I love it. You've got this power team. That's amazing. That's what everyone should be building, is a power team.
And I think that there's a hesitation with a lot of side hustlers to make that to start that outsourcing.
Yes.
Your first thing is a VA, even if it's 2 hours a week. Grab yourself a VA,
virtual assistant. Absolutely.
Grab a virtual assistant, and then these other things. And I promise you, one of the things that I know to be true is that when you focus on that zone of genius, the highest and best use, the highest bill rate, like when you focus on those things, everybody else pays for themselves because you have more time to do the things that drive the big revenue. So let's talk about your big vision for 2021. So like, what is the big vision and what are you wanting more of with the remainder of this year?
Yeah, I just created, literally talking about strategy, I created a strategy slide for myself this past weekend. And for me, there's something called objective key results, OKRs, where basically it's like a protocol for how do you create goal settings that are really not about like, oh, I want to do this, like I want to launch a campaign. Like that's a means to an end.
Yeah,
what do you want? Like, what's the end? What's the end for you? And so for me, I wrote a few things down. I'll share with you. First of all, becoming a well-respected, well-known, sought-after subject matter expert in emotional intelligence and psychology of work. Second one was like increase my impact while decreasing my workload. Amen.
Hello.
And
I want to work more.
Yes. And the third one is empowering a new level of financial freedom to serve the world with my giftings. And that's really about scale and creating sustainable passive income streams. So my vision is all about, I mean, there's a theme in all three of those things, is really how do I scale myself, my voice, my thoughts, my ideas, as well as even just the actual coaching that I do. So it's less manual.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a level of automation there, but I also think that when you start thinking, and similar to you, the pandemic and the twists and turns of the last 15, 16 months, it forced our hand to think about scale. Like
It did.
now we actually can scale, because I'd like to go and meet the people and do the in-person facilitation, and I don't know, I don't know that I'll ever put pants on again. I don't know that I'll ever show up for anything again other than a Zoom call. I don't know that I will. But just the idea of, like, we have our first clients in Australia. We How would we have reached that market
Mm-mm.
previously, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I am excited about your big vision. I can't wait to see what all happens. So what does that look like for you daily? How are you kind of organizing your
Yeah.
day around this big vision of having that global impact?
Yeah. I mean, like you're breaking down those big, hairy, audacious goals into small pieces and then driving accountability on a regular rhythm, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
sustainable. Because if you do those big things, I just, it's overwhelming. In fact, it's paralyzing sometimes when you're like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
should have, could have, like all these things, right? And like I've definitely been a victim of that. And I'm very transparent that I am in progress. I am not
Mm-hmm.
have arrived. This entrepreneurial journey is
Still
always
on it.
evolution. Always. Oh, there's always more, Keita, right? And
It's
you
not
and
like
me,
painting the house where you do it and you don't have to think about it for 10 years. No.
I mean, for me, it's so Enneagram, right? Enneagram. I don't know if you know your Enneagram. I'm
You,
3, achiever, right? No surprise. And it's just never enough. Like I just will I
mm-hmm.
will never be satisfied. Like I finished the doctorate. Nope. Gotta do more. Gotta do more. Gotta do more. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
fine balance, right? I feel grounded with my family, right? Because if not, I'd just be working all the time. But for me, I recognize like everything I do, it needs to. That's where the scale comes. Is like
Mm-hmm.
I'm motivated by my having more time with my kids. I am motivated by doing more of the things, the leisure also things of life, not
Like
just
having a
work.
life.
Yes. And because I'm doing, that's the cool thing about being on your own is, and I can never, please, Keita, never let me do this, ever take a FTE job, ever.
I
Because
literally had this conversation.
I'll
Go on.
never, like, I'll never I don't care how much money, what title, like, I'll never, because it is, there's no box you can put me in. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing that will fit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just all these different things and I love it. And I also love being the boss of my time. Yeah, every Kita, every afternoon this summer, and the weather's already getting beautiful in Seattle. Today is gorgeous. I am out on the beach by 3 p.m. with my kids. I end calls by 2 p.m. Usually, and I just that's what I want, and I get to do that. And then
Mm-hmm.
I hop back on line after bedtime, and I get to design this life that I love. And so, anyways, in terms of the tangible tactical things,
Mm-hmm.
as simple as for me, I have a marketing background, and it's so interesting. Marketers sometimes have the hardest time marketing themselves, and it is psychology. And I
Mm-hmm.
have to admit it. Like there's times where I have not felt enough. I felt like, oh, do I have anything unique to give to the
Mm-hmm.
world? All that stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I'm over that. I'm over doing that to myself, and I want to encourage everybody who is listening who does the same thing to themselves to get over it,
Get
to
over
acknowledge
thyself.
it. Yeah, to acknowledge. Yeah, that should be a quote. Get over thyself. Yep, love it. And it's shame. It comes. I'll just go deep real quick on the psychology. It comes from a place that we are not enough, and it's not. It's is a deep area. Like when you think of Dr. Brene Brown, she talks about guilt being, I did something wrong, and shame is I am wrong. Who I am is wrong or
Mm.
bad or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes shame comes. Really, it's actually underneath all the imposter syndrome. Is this I'm not enough? It can come as deep as childhood. The message
Mm.
of I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, all these different things. And so it shows up. It shows up in our entrepreneurial life. And so
Mm-hmm.
for me, I'm like, I'm past that. I'm moving forward despite the broken record that is also in my mind that would say I'm not enough, I'm not enough, and I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to move forward. And one of the big things that I want to do is I want to create just tangibly a content calendar of all the topics that I believe that I have something to say about. For me, it has a lot to do with emotional intelligence, how that intersects with diversity and inclusion in the workplace, how that intersects with burnout and pandemic fatigue. There's just unique things that I feel like I could say around those spaces because I'm coaching on those levels. And then I want to create a strategy. Again, very good at this for other people, but I have to do this for myself, where it's like, okay, what does it look like for me to take one piece of content and start creating 5 different versions of the same thing? A YouTube version, a Twitter version, a Instagram version, but it's all from the base kind of body of content. And so, and then slowly starting to just be very faithful with that. That alone that's my first step. You've been doing this for years, Kita, but it's like, for me, I have to do that, is to scale myself, speak out, do LinkedIn articles, things like that. And then I have like a phase approach. It's got to be phased. It can't be all at once, or else you just overwhelm yourself and paralyze yourself.
Well, like that, I think that is, it's like, if you think about running if you were training for a marathon, you would not go outside and run all 27 miles at one time and haven't run in months, right? You would step yourself up. But I do have one thing I want to share with you to help simplify a little bit of that.
Please.
Okay, little coaching.
Love it, Kita.
Okay, think of content as a house.
Yes.
And so there are 4 pillars in the house. So if there's just a box. So what are your 4 pillars, right? And so think, what are those 4 things that you really, really own? And build the house, your content house, around those 4 pillars. As I think that when we start going down, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about that, I want to talk about this, you start getting further and further away from your expertise. So the 4 pillars. And then once you have your 4 pillars, it gets a lot easier, because like you start creating and then it's like, oh wait, dust that off, make it a little more current. And then you're not rewriting or generating a lot of new stuff. Also look at Otter AI. Everyone, Cece put that in the chat. Otter AI. If you're doing video and you're doing audio recordings, or you're like this, we're going to use this. It'll transcribe your audio, and then you can turn that into your articles or your media. So like, there's a lot of tools out here to help. But yeah, I would start with that 4 pillars, and like, just keep it to 4.
Yes. And when you say pillars, you're talking about messaging pillars.
So here are the 4 things we talked about. Goal setting, accountability, time management, and keeping your head in the game. That's all our content's about. Right. And like, we can tweak it to entrepreneurs. We can tweak it, like, if we have to show up for a corporate workshop, like what that looks like in the corporate space, but like, that's it. And that keeps me from being way out here. Like, let me give you some thoughts on, I admire people that work in the DEI space, but just because I'm brown does not mean I am a DEI expert. I don't touch it.
You need to know. You need to know what
I do not comment on it.
It goes back to zone of genius.
I do not write about it. That is not our zone of genius. Although, I'll get what are your thoughts on? Let me refer that out. That's not my expertise, but here's someone that it is, right? So like, that's one thing that I found, like, kind of thinking in that, like, these are the 4 things that I'm committed to talking to all the time. And that shows up, if you look at our social media, you'll see it. But like, that keeps us from being way over here or way over there. And so, question for you: how do we find you? How do we find you? Where can we get more of your magic? How do we keep up with you?
Please check me out at www.renee, RENEEST, JACQUES. So that's just my full name.com. So you'll get the latest. You'll get the latest there, and in my journey. And I'll be. You can follow me on LinkedIn as well. I'm going to be doing all those articles. You can keep me accountable that I do those.
Oh yeah, I'll be harassing you about it. Don't worry. You can't tell me stuff like that without me going, hey. You'll get like an email that'll subject line, yo. Yo, where the article? Love Kita. And that's literally what it'll say. So you got to be careful with what you reveal. Okay, question. And so I got like 2, maybe 3 more questions. So how do you, when our audience needs to gut check whether they need therapy or
Oh,
coaching
that's a
or
great question.
both?
Mhm.
What is that gut check? How would you recommend that they look into that?
Yeah. Okay. So the difference is counseling is it's a healthcare. It's a
Hmm.
healthcare service, right? Where counseling is care profession where you are dealing with your mental health, where it's like typically diagnosable things like depression, anxiety. Now, stress and workplace relationships can definitely be in the
Hmm.
realm of counseling, but I think the difference is counseling is very much like typically has to do with like looking at your past
Okay.
trauma, processing things. Like there is some overlap for sure where you
Hmm.
might learn in both spaces some tooling, like tools for how to think
Hmm.
differently, how to reduce your stress. But in coaching, it is very action oriented.
Yes.
As
Yes.
you know, it is all about action. It's all, and I
Hmm.
love that, which is why it's so me. And so I put two different hats, like
Okay.
depending, and if it's like, I mean, if we're talking heavy trauma things like that, please do not be bringing that up in coaching, or
Yeah.
expect you can bring it up, but don't expect that I'm going to be treating it in
Hmm.
coaching.
Hmm.
I could
Hmm.
treat that in counseling, and by the way, I'm insurance paneled and all that stuff, and that so that's something. But coaching, the cool thing is that because I can diagnose and I
Hmm.
understand mental health, I can bring that in to be like, yep, your manager seems to be displaying this personality disorder, and this is what you could be doing about this on an action
Hmm.
level, right? And
Right.
so
Right.
but and on a personal level, I think sometimes is a combination of two of both. Like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm gonna start with some okay, yes, I have heavy disability, just like really uh
Hmm.
paralyzing depression and anxiety. Okay, let's that coaching is not going to really get you out of that.
Right. That's not going to
That is
get you out of bed.
yes,
Hmm.
out of bed.
Hmm.
Counseling is going to help you with that because sometimes we have to look at meds and things like that, and that's fine. But
Hmm.
you might get to the moment where it's like, okay, I'm ready for coaching and I'm ready for Kita and I'm ready for Dr. Renee. I'm ready for action. So
Hmm.
that's how you know the difference.
That's the other thing I also yell on the internet is that coaching is only as good as the action that is taken.
Yes.
You could have a multi-million dollar coach. If you do not take any action,
Doesn't
you will
matter.
have the same result. So thank you so much for that. Okay, you ready for the lightning round?
Yes.
Okay. We often talk about, I had to spin for emphasis.
I'm a little scared. Just kidding.
So we talk about the double-edged sword of being brilliant, the double-edged sword of being brilliant, and that's the idea of that, we're so smart that we can overthink things, we diagram it, we have the worst case scenario, or we never run out of ideas. So what are some of your tips for managing that double-edged sword of being brilliant?
I think it goes back to two things. It's the time and space that you have. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, ROI of that, but also how that intersects with your zone of genius.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of what we're talking about. Like, what's the biggest bang for your buck? When you've got, for me as a working mom, I've got only like very small windows to
Best
work. I
time
need to
managers,
know.
working moms, best time managers ever.
Ever, right? Like you don't fool around. You don't procrastinate. That window's gone if you just like
You
you're
don't have
scrolling on
any
social
time.
media. You're just like on Instagram, and you should have been like creating a document. So yeah, so it's evaluation of that for me.
Love it. And so now, mic drop. This is your mic drop moment. So if you had to do the mic drop, leave that golden nugget, that piece of advice for this community of female founders that are scaling their side hustles, who have the desire to be like us and be corporate escape artists, who are plotting out their corporate escape route, what would be that mic drop for them?
I think for me, it would be, in short, you cannot move from inspiration to action without addressing the psychological barriers that may be holding you
Mm,
back, whether it's you
mm,
getting in your own way, or whether it's like, why am I procrastinating? The why behind the what,
mhm.
and even relational dynamics, bad habits that you have where you don't show up emotionally intelligent, and it really hampers your leadership potential because you have the IQ but maybe not the EQ. So that's where
Mm.
counseling, coaching can support you in having the highest emotional intelligence and health so that you can be as successful walking your magic.
I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Renee. Hold the line. I'm going to land the plane, but thank you so much for joining us. This was absolutely It was magical. That's what it
Thank
was.
you,
Magical.
Keita. I've had my triple espresso shot with you today.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. We'll be right with you. All right, let me land the plane. All right, everyone. Thank you so much to Dr. Renee for joining us. This was a powerful conversation. I hope that you all step out and harness your magic. As a friendly reminder, our big old announcement is that we are doubling down on our efforts to support our side hustlers and business growers, our corporate escape artists, and we are renaming this group. We are restructuring things so that we are serving you at the highest level. So without further ado, please make sure that you lean into the process of the corporate escape route. We want to help you plot your plan to exit corporate when you are ready. So look for messages from our team. We're going to be reaching out to you. So we really want to know how we can serve you, what resources you need. So pay attention for that. If you need time, again, I have 2 slots on my calendar this week. We moved a few things around for a special spring goal setting session with me. Reach out to your concierge to get that time on my calendar. All right, y'all. Once again, I am Keita Williams, founder and chief strategist of Success Bully. Let's get after it.